Welcome to Laugh, Cry, or Die. This is a comedy disability podcast hosted by me, Steve Wilbury. I have the most painful disease in the world, and with me, as always, is my co host, Naomi Strain, who's very good at seizures.
Hello. Yes, I am.
This is a podcast where we just kind of talk about life on the far edges of Western medicine, where, you can't just take a pill and make it better, and you just have to fucking live your life in a world that's not designed for you.
Yeah, it's fun. Or you could take lots of pills and not live in a world that makes life hard. The options are up to you. There's always options,
Don't let us tell you what to do, the
but
podcast.
do it.
Well, so for anyone who's not been following along on my adventures, I normally live in New Zealand, but I have spent 12 days in Japan, and I've been in Scotland now for about 2 weeks. And I'm here to do my show in the Edinburgh Fringe. And the change from New Zealand to Japan to Europe has been wild.
Yeah, I didn't realize you'd been away for that long. That's
Mm,
ages. But that's really
mm.
good because that means it's sooner for me for when you come back.
But that's what we call you, selfish Nay.
Do you all call me that behind my back?
Yeah, every day. Like Nate, selfish Nate. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
It's better than I imagined. If I had to guess what people called me behind my back, it'd be quite different.
It definitely still starts with an S, though.
What else?
I don't know. What's a really
Slithery,
insulting word that starts with an S?
apart from
Succulent? No. Anyway, this is a
succulent.
different podcast. Um, uh, and yeah, what I found interesting with my complex regional pain syndrome is so when I went to Japan, I couldn't take any of my cannabis flower with me because cannabis medicines are illegal. I did,
Mm.
however, manage to bring in some oils. So I had a full spectrum CBD oil, which is the high CBD, like the stuff that's supposed to be good for seizures. And then I also had a THC one that was just a bit of THC to top it off. And I coped really, really well in Japan with the CBD and the THC together. And since we've got to the UK, I've only been able to get like regular kind of black market flour rather than the high CBD stuff.
Right,
And
right.
my pain is way worse. My tics are worse. Like all my involuntary movements are up like 80% since I got to the UK and ran out of the high CBD stuff.
Well, because when I spoke to you when you were in Japan,
Mm.
you were managing to maintain doing stuff. You were in pain, and I could see in the last one you were really tired and
Yeah, I was
struggling.
falling asleep in the last one. Yeah.
You were kind of keeping on top of it.
Mm.
Um, but as I said before, when you stay on top of your pain, you can kind of control it a little.
Mm.
Whereas if you've dropped into pain, it's then that cycle that you can't get out of. So what
Mm.
are you going to do? Is this going to get worse?
So I found some hot full spectrum CBD stuff in the UK
Mm.
online that I'm gonna order. So hopefully that should help me get on top of it. I've been working really, really hard doing my Circus Association work, which is a different podcast. So I have been pushing myself, and I think the clapback from Japan, plus running out of the CBD, plus pushing myself at work, it is like this pain. It's this cycle, like you say, like I'll like the pain's so constant that like then when I relax, right? If you squeeze all the muscles in your head, you can kind of make a rushing sound in your ears. Do you ever get
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So like as soon as I relax, all the muscles in my back just go and just that rushing noise, I can hear my heartbeat going, and it's just everything is so tense and wound up, and I just can't relax.
Is that affecting your show? Because I know sometimes you said in the past that when you're on stage, that helps with your pain because I don't know
Mm.
with the adrenaline and all that's going on. Is being on stage helping with that?
I mean, the thing is that it's hard to get enough stage time. Like I came and I went and I did an open mic to try out a bit of material to kind of like to work on my show and stuff. But I was sitting with open mics, you have to this one in particular, they put everyone's name in a hat and they just pull it out. So, I was sitting for an hour in an uncomfortable chair in a loud venue to get a turn to go 5 minutes when really I need like an hour. I need like a full headline set to work through my shit. But
Yeah.
it's just really hard to find the time.
Mm,
on stages, unless you're in a city and then you put in the FaceTime and then people get to know you and then you get booked. And it's like the system is, it's all FaceTime in comedy. Like you have to show up regularly, and I'm just not here enough. And if I was famous, it'd be fine, but I'm not.
yeah, and I suppose that being Fringe, there's lots of people like you around
Well,
trying
no,
to get.
it's still early. Not everyone's arrived yet, so I'm
Right,
here earlier than a lot of other people.
you're trying to catch
Um,
being there early.
yeah, well, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of friends, which is really lovely.
Right.
Like I went and saw some of my friends, and we watched the Euros is on at the minute, which is very, I forgot how big of a deal football is over here.
I
So,
miss it. I miss that whole vibe with the football.
mm,
Like a few games when I watch games over here, it's like obviously it's either in the early hours of the morning,
mm,
and people that I know aren't really into football, so it'll just
mm,
be me huddled in the lounge, cold. And like the last one that was important to me was when Coventry City were playing quite an important game, and I had people staying, and one was staying in my room, and I was like, I won't disturb you because I'm on the sofa tonight, and because I couldn't get the TV, I just had to listen to it like on the wireless, and so I had my laptop next to me. I was curled up on the sofa listening to the game, and
mm.
then obviously started to drift off, and then I woke up all of a sudden, and there was a man in my face, and it was one of the guys who was staying here, and he's a big hairy dude, and he was popping his head over to look at the laptop to see what the score was, because
Oh,
it was terrifying to wake up, and it was like, I was just trying to look at the score, and then
oh my
they lost,
God.
and I cried, not
Oh,
like bawling, but very
yeah.
tearful, like just don't talk to me for a bit. It was an important game, and it was really sad. And like even people who know football, they're like, but it's Coventry City. I'm like, yes, it's Coventry City. It's Sky Blues. It's very important. We need to win this game. And yeah, in the UK, people would have understood
People
that
would have
vibe
understood. Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
more. Yeah, yeah.
But it's what's nice about the Euros is it's all the countries kind of against each other, so you get the nice vibe. And there's this thing in Scotland, especially, that everyone in Germany loves the Scottish fans. Like they come and get absolutely hammered and drank a city dry, but they're very well behaved and are just like lovely to have around.
Yeah, I saw the clip online, and it was all the Scottish fans, and then a German guy came out on the balcony of his
Mm,
place, and
yeah.
like was watching the parade of people, and then he started dropping bottles of beer, like reaching down and dropping them so they could catch them, and all the
Mm.
Scottish fans, every time anyone caught a beer, they're like, "Yay!" And it was a really nice energy. Whereas
There
the
was a
English and the Germans, no, well, the English and
no.
anyone basically, but specifically the Germans.
There was a lovely photo of like two guys walking along in kilts, passing a bottle of beer, holding their brollies over this old man in the rain.
Oh, that's really
Um,
nice.
yeah, and it was lovely. Like
People,
Scotland is so much better than England. I'm sorry, it just is.
hey, hey there now. You're probably
Have
right.
you been to England? But even Scotland, I mean, God, you can having because I mean we left just before the Tories came in, and like seeing the effects of 14 years of austerity is like all the weeds are really high everywhere, the roads are fucked. It's yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, see, I'm part Scottish. Like my dad's half Scottish, so my grandma was full Scot. So I do have that Scottish background.
You and every
Um,
other fucking American.
well, no, but no, I'm quarter, and so
I know. I'm
you
just
know,
yanking your
my
shit.
actual grandma had full on Scottish accent.
Mm,
Like my dad was, you know, next generation. So we do
mm,
have that. But if you want to stereotype, I'm ginger, I'm Scottish, to an extent, I'm Scorpio, for whatever you believe in that. I should be really badly angry at everything. I should be stingy and angry and judgmental, and I am.
well, I tell you what, you know, the stereotype of Scottish people being tight is exists for a reason because my mother-in-law, who I have a very good relationship with, um, the most the thing she's most interested in is how much things cost. it's like she will sit and tell you about how much the meal cost and how she saved 50p by getting this thing and how there's this other thing, but that's all she talks about is money. That's like all she ever
Right,
talks
right.
about. And then Rachel was looking at uh, uh, a table for her face painting that was like 100 quid or like £100, which is like $200, which is, not nothing. And Rachel's mom was like, "Are you buying a new one?" Rachel's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Ooh, that's that's three figures. That's
Yeah,
folding money."
honestly,
Um,
I totally get that because
but
I would rather like walk out of a shop with like five things that are really
mm,
cheap, you know, like going to a charity shop or an op shop or whatever you call.
mm.
But it's very much you take more pride in a thing if you get it for a bargain.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. But um, money sorry, my pain's quite bad, which is why my voice is going a
Mhm.
bit. So
Yeah,
apologies.
I was watching you then and I can see that you're like
Yeah,
stimming.
I'm stimming a bit, and it's yeah, Rachel hates it when I stim. It's like that
Really?
because it's only when my pain gets really bad. Because I think one of the reasons is like the same reason the tens machine works with like the 9-volt battery, and it more input kind of helps even the system out. Like if I'm rocking back and forth, it's the pain spikes don't feel as loud. I don't know
Yeah,
if that
well,
makes
you've
any
got
sense.
no, well, you've got less of a difference if you're sitting as like just a normal human and you've got
Mm,
pain. There's a huge gap between normal and
mm,
pain. Whereas if you add some stimuli in here,
mm.
it's not so much of a jump to the pain, so it's less shocking
Yeah,
and jolting. Like
exactly.
white noise. It's white noise, really, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. White. Oh God, I love white noise.
Me
If I could
too.
marry it as a second wife. Um,
I have, yeah, I can't sleep without my white noise, and I think
mm.
mine was from when my house was mm, at night was louder and angrier in the past. And so,
Oh
yeah, so
yes, yes, yes. I see.
yeah,
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 I'm
yeah.
with you now.
So having the white noise made it less jarring when
Mm.
that loud noise was happening. Yeah. Oh, that
But
sounds almost I have
Lewis got it.
poltergeist.
Lewis got addicted to it when in the summer in New Zealand, because of course we don't have central heating or sensible things. He had a fan in his room to keep him cool. So then he got really used one summer to having the fan, and now it's like always needs to have that noise, which is fine. Is that the what was I gonna say? Oh, you're asking about the show. How is this affecting the show? My show.
Yes, yes.
I still have a ways to go for my show. Um, I've done it enough now that I know it, and I paid a writer some money to help me look through it and like talk about rearranging things or adding bits or whatever. Um,
Nice.
and he's like, a proper grown-up writer who told me it was a very good show and I should be very proud. And I'm like, okay, that makes me feel a bit better.
That's
So
really nice.
even without the work that I've done put in, he's like, as it was, it's good. As it is after the stuff that we've changed around, it'll like flow even better. Um, so I did some work on that, and then my circuits association job has just taken over my brain. And then I have that for another week, and then I have to do the pirate show. And then
With Lewis, is that what the one that you do with Lewis?
it's the one I do with Lewis and Rachel. So now
Right,
we've
right.
added Rachel in. So we need to do some rehearsing for that. Then I can do my show.
Family, we're a family of carny folk.
Proper circus family. Um, and I've been back and forthing over whether or not I want to try and do like summer in New Zealand, summer in the UK kind of thing, or like come
Right,
and
right.
do like a Europe summer season and a New Zealand summer season. I don't know. Uh, I New Zealand is just so much happier there.
Right, right. So a
It's
nice
I
vibe, but less opportunities.
just yeah, nicer vibe, less opportunities, but like opportunities are what you make. I think if we're in Christchurch in a bigger city, there'll be more opportunities that we can make. But it smells here a lot. I'm noticing that I'm pretty sure Lewis is a little bit more spectrumy than I thought he was. because
Okay.
he's very sensitive to smells. He's constantly commenting on how different places smell to him.
Right, right.
Um, and also, I mean, he's never been in a place with more than 1,000 people, and the noise, like really noisy places with lots of people, do kind of put the wind up him a bit and give him some anxiety.
Right. Quite
Um,
a culture shock, really, isn't it?
yeah, it's huge, and especially, I mean, we went from Nelson to Tokyo, where like the word, the sign, like even the letters are different, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Tokyo was dope. Did I tell you we saw Munchkin cats?
You said you went to a cat cafe, but you didn't tell me
Mm.
anything about specific
So we
cats.
ended up going to three cat cafes. The first one was on the eighth floor of a building. So in Tokyo, you have to use clear umbrellas so you can see up the floors because all the buildings are so high and they've got different things on all the levels.
Is
And
that law that you have to use a clear umbrella?
well, you won't get arrested, but all the umbrellas that you can buy are clear.
That's cool.
Um, so yeah, so get in this lift, you go to the top floor of this building, and it was actually there were two floors in this cat cafe. You could walk up some stairs, and they had some very expensive like cat breeds. So they had a Munchkin, which is picture a dachshund or a dachshund, like a wiener dog, yeah,
Yeah.
but a
Yeah.
cat. They
That's
look
funny.
so stupid when they run. It's like it's like a living cartoon. It's honestly the funniest, cutest thing I've ever seen in my life. Wild.
Did you take one? I would have been very tempted to take one home.
Um, I think it's frowned upon to go into
Oh,
Japan. And did I tell you about my laptop
no,
in Japan?
I don't
So,
think so.
okay, so we're there, we got all our suitcases and we get onto the Shinkansen, the bullet train. But we got on the wrong bit. We got on the reserved seats and we have to go forward to the non-reserved seats and move everything around. When we're shifting around, I think Rachel thinks I've got my laptop bag. I think Rachel has it. We end up getting off
Ah,
the train. Laptop bag is still on the train, like three carriages down.
shit.
So then we go to the Lost Japan and we say we've lost our thing. And they were like, well, which train were you on? And we are like, oh, the one from Tokyo. And they're like, there's a train every 7 minutes. Which train from Tokyo were
Oh,
you on?
shit,
So then
shit,
they
yeah.
tried to work out which train we were on. They call the train while it's going, send someone to look for the bag. They don't really find it. And then I go back like a few hours later and it's showed up in Hiroshima, completely unmolested, and someone's handed it in to Lost and Found.
Wow.
So my laptop bag took a 2 hour train trip, but then the next day I took a trip to Hiroshima to get my laptop back. And I got to walk around the train station of Hiroshima. That was exciting.
That's that's great that you got it back because your life pretty much is on there, isn't it?
Yeah, no, if my laptop had been lost, I would have really been struggling. But
Yeah.
it's the culture that it wouldn't have lasted in England, that's for bloody sure.
It had been stolen or at least smashed.
Oh my God. So we go down. So one of the things that's like stopping me from wanting to go back is we're in a park in Scotland in Leith in one of the slowly becoming gentrified. And this young kid, 6, 7, I feel for him because I heard him shouting for his mum. He didn't know where his mum was, and
Mm.
he wanted to go home, I guess. So he was just hanging around with these teenagers, and he finds this plastic kind of baby toy, and he's like, "Is this yours?" Goes around a few people, "Is this yours?" And I was like, "No, no, that's not mine." So he just starts throwing it on the ground and just smashing it to pieces and breaking it. And then we're talking, and then this one of the other kids comes up and he's like, "I can't find my wee dog George." And they'd like set up some hilarious joke where I was gonna turn around and the kid was gonna be a bulldog or some shit. And I didn't play along. And like this 10-year-old
Oh,
goes and he's like, "Oh, you fucking bald-headed cunt, you lose my fucking joke." And I'm like, this is why we moved. This is why Lewis didn't grow up here. This is the reason.
I love that. It's just children playing on the street and then
Yeah,
shouting abuse at a foreigner.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Oh, I
it
miss home.
was it was really like, oh yeah, the United Kingdom.
Well, see, this
So
is one of the reasons
good.
why with my health, that
Mm,
as much as, obviously I would like to be in England for, my family and familiarity and all that kind of stuff,
mm,
is that if I was to have a seizure in public, like over here, I'm I'm pretty safe in public.
mm,
People want to help. Like I've
mm,
come around in hospital, and I'd had a seizure on the street, and I'd smashed my head on the pavement, and I'd had a bag with like a really expensive book that I'd gone to collect. My glasses were broken. I'd dropped all
mm,
my stuff. And when I came around in hospital, my glasses, including the screws, were in a nice little bag. The book was there, nice protected. All
mm,
my belongings were with me,
mm,
and I don't think that would happen in the UK. I mean, obviously there are nice people, but the chances of
mm,
my things being stolen or myself being violated while I'm vulnerable are a
mm.
lot higher, I think,
So
than they
this
are
is,
here.
I'll tell you my hot take, right? So one of the things that I really loved about where Lewis grew up and in school is that so the school is actually on Maori land, and the principal is fluent in Te Reo, and concepts from Te Ao Maori come into the school, like being a guardian for the land and like your lineage and like linking yourself to your community. And there's like these really core concepts to a society that have really been stripped away in the end stage capitalism West, you know?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
New Zealand definitely has its problems, but I think one of the reasons it's stayed a little bit less problemy is probably because of these concepts from our First Nation that are still influencing all the Pākehā people that, that even if it doesn't completely get in, it's at least brushed against your consciousness. So like you say, the chances of it being a good person are much higher there than they would be back home.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm really ignorant. I admit that. Like my
Mm.
language, in Te Reo is really bad. I'm
It's
trying
not, no,
constantly.
it's not bad to not know that though.
I think I'm aware personally. I know that, there is this English sort of stereotype of us being, you know, um,
What?
not very nice. Yeah, yeah, and stealing people's land and kicking them out of their countries, and it's
Well,
terrible.
it's you know
So
why? It's because you did all of that. That's why that's a
I know,
thing.
right? I
You
know, but
specifically, they were like, should we
I did.
enslave all these countries? And they were like, and you were like, yes, fuck them.
I've got them stashed under my mattress. All these countries, I own all the countries. But no, but because of that history, I'm very aware of being English in a country that's
Mm,
not my country, and
anymore.
so it's ignorant of me to not know more. But
Well, I
we're
think
we're we're very
maybe
lazy
you're
with
busy.
yeah, yeah, but I should know more. And so I try and use, sort of words that I can use, but I feel I'm not naturally a linguist. I'm good
Mm,
with the English
you're
language.
not
I
a
can
good
do
cunning
that.
linguist.
I'm not a cunning linguist.
uh.
Um, but there are aspects that just naturally happen in this country.
Mm,
And I really love that. Like even when we're making films, um, one of the main things personally is when we're on public land is that when you're talking to your crew beforehand, it's like, yeah, we're here to make a film and everything's fun and we've got permission to be here and that, but respect the land.
mm,
So here in nature, just protect it. Don't litter, don't go
mm,
and piss in the woods and all this kind of stuff.
mm,
Our main thing is we respect where we are. Don't carve your name into a tree, or don't go and if a plant is in the way of where we want to film, then we work around the plant. We don't dig the plant up,
mm.
and so this respect for your environment. I think that, like personally, I would be like that anyway, but it's more ingrained. I think
Well, I think
it's
it's
a
here's second hot take, right? So the Western late stage capitalist hellscapes, the environment hasn't respected them for so long. So why would you give it back? Like why would I respect the environment that's given me a shitty minimum wage job? I'm not the millionaire I'm supposed to be. Have you seen all these black people succeeding and I'm stuck in the dirt? So why should I care about where I am when where I am isn't giving anything to me, you know?
yeah. There's no pride really in what's around you, and
Mm,
and this is very generalized because
mm,
obviously, there are wonderful places in the UK,
oh
and there
yeah.
are wonderful people in the UK, And I think even over here, like I was at the gym the other day, and as I went through reception, one of the guys that I know, he was like, "Hang on, you're English," and he's English too. And I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "There are sunny days in England, aren't there?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, there are." And the receptionist was like, "No, there's not. There's never." And she was fully convinced that there's never sun in the UK. And I was like, "Yeah, there's we have a week of it, but you know, there are these sort of I don't know, generalizations and
Mm.
these views that
Well,
people
what
have.
I always say about Scotland is that the weather in Scotland isn't as bad as people say it is, but it's not far off. Like we've been here
Right,
for
right,
2 weeks, and today is the first day that it's been blue all day with only
right,
mixed
right.
clouds. It's always like it'll be sunny for a bit, and then it's something else, and then
Yeah,
it'll
yeah.
and it's like like getting back into that habit of like carrying a jacket with you everywhere.
Yes,
You
yeah.
know,
You got to
whereas like
dress
I'm
for
like
all the
it's sunny
seasons.
now, but I need to take a jacket because it might not be. Whereas in Nelson, you're like it's sunny now and will be for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when we lived in Rugby and my ex-Russ, his cousin and partner came over and it was, you know, summer sort of time. And after a few days of staying with us, they were like, "When will the sky come back?" And we were like, "What?" And they were getting really claustrophobic because it was grey the whole time. And it was
Mm,
like, yeah, the city had a lid. You know, they were like, "We're closed in." And then
I,
we took them to these parks and gardens and things. And
mm,
they're like, "Oh, what do we need to take?" Because they just had like, you know, their normal tops on.
mm,
And we were putting in the back of the car, we're like putting an umbrella and we're putting waterproofs and we're putting warm things. And they're
mm.
like, "Yeah, but it's really nice outside." I'm like, "Yes, that won't last. It's going to change at some point." You know, and it could be like really sunny and then
Mm,
it's tipping it down and then it's sunny again and let's have a picnic. And yeah,
mm.
you do have to be prepared for all weathers. But the thing is, the houses in the UK are built for that. And
Yes,
so in the winter in the UK, even though the weather's worse than winter in New Zealand, it's colder because when you get home, it's still freezing.
fuck,
Whereas in the
man.
UK, it's like the houses are ready to
Mm.
be, you know, the walls
Yeah,
are thicker.
you come in from the freezing outside and it's warm instead of coming in from the freezing outside, waiting for 20 minutes while the fire heats up, and then going into a cold bathroom and like freezing your ass
Yeah,
off on a
yeah.
cold seat.
Yeah, and I get really angry with the cold. I take it very personally. Like when I get out of bed in the morning and it's cold, it makes me angry. Like, how
As
dare
well
you?
it
I'm
should.
nice and warm. I know, right? And there's been times where it has been colder in my house than outside, you know, and it's like
Mm.
I want to go out to warm up. Or like even I've had like, you know, the butter and it's been colder and harder outside than it is in the fridge,
That's
you know.
always that's always my
How?
like I because of all my medicine and my brain melting and stuff, my knowledge of where I am in time and space can be kind of limited at times. But that was always my like seasonal calendar was like, oh, the butter's melty. Oh, it's summer now.
It's
Like,
summertime.
oh no, I can't chop into that. It's winter o'clock.
When you're slicing butter like cheese.
What has been really nice is seeing my whānau, which is a word that I didn't know existed, and then I come back and seem like, oh no, these are my whānau, like my family. These are my family part. These are my people, my tribe, my you know.
Yeah, because that's not just blood, that's your
Yeah,
people.
it's your people. Yeah, you know,
Mm.
and that's been really lovely to see
Yeah.
the people that I ran around the forest being silly and young with, some of whom have really like amazing careers now. Like a friend of mine's putting together, when's Glastonbury? You can't release this till after Glastonbury, or
Right.
edit it out. But he's working with Banksy to do a full scale replica of Terminal 3 for Glastonbury this year.
Nice. That's cool.
And you know, he was the stage manager for the first cabarets that I emceed when I was 23, you know, and he's gone off and had this amazing career, and seeing what people have done is really cool. And then seeing them that they're still my friends, you know, like your best friends you won't see for 10 years and then you get back together and it's like not a moment has passed. Like that's the real like knowing that
Yeah,
those are the
yeah.
right
And
ones.
you may have not even spoken to them for a long time,
Mm,
and yet you're still you're still really good friends. And these
Hmm.
people, all these people that you would have grown up around, you know, like you say in your 20s and stuff,
Mm,
they won't have met Lewis or known you as a father. So that's like a whole
mm.
nother connection to you that they
Yeah,
wouldn't
and
have
what's great is a lot of them have kids, and then our kids all get along really well because they're slightly neurodivergent, grown up with weirdo parents. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
um, my friend Rob sent me a family photo of him and his two daughters up on stilts at a gig, and like he was dressed up as Elvis and she was Taylor Swift, and they were just going around doing a stilt walking gig all together as a little circus family.
That's really
Um,
cute. That's really cute.
yeah, so that was nice. And then like one of my really good friends is Rob, and he's got a 6-year-old who thinks that my very tall 10-year-old is the coolest big kid.
Nice.
Um, and yeah, it's all very, very sweet.
In
It's nice having the families together.
Yeah, yeah. And in New Zealand, are there many sort of children around Lewis who have got that like alternative lifestyle? Or is
Not
this
where
like,
not where he was. This is part of the moving to Christchurch thing, is that, there in his year there were 4 other boys who were fine, kids. They weren't shitheads or anything, but none of them were from creative weirdo families. So it's been good for him to see kids from the same kind of background families.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like,
Oh, he'll
he'll be
flourish.
doing like he'll like show off his acro tricks, and then he's got a friend who's like, oh, here's an acro balance trick that I can do as well. And he's meeting his peers, you know?
Yeah, yeah, he's finding his people. Oh, you're saying about seeing your people. When you last saw them,
Mm,
um, how was your health? Like, was it better or worse, or
much
have
better.
people?
I was last here 9 years ago. It was 2 surgeries less than I'd had before. And I definitely had struggles with my health, but I didn't have full-blown complex regional pain syndrome. Like, it wasn't anywhere near as bad as it is now. But they've all had their own, journeys on the time as well. And the thing is that I don't feel bad being broken in front of them. Like, I don't feel like I have to hide anything.
Right, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and like when I first do ticks or whatever, people are like, "Oh, are you okay?" I'm like, "No, no, it's just me being me." And then, if I do, and my friend Aoife will just kind of like rub me on the back a little bit, as they don't do the thing like, oh, making the big deal or doing any like performative worrying about you or anything. It's just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's what you're like now. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
Um,
that's how I know my people is when people know that I have seizures. So obviously there's the people who do the pity face,
mm,
which I know it comes from a good place, but it can get a bit tedious and belittling. But
mm,
I am grateful for the people that have obviously got concern for me. But my people know that I have seizures and then forget about it until a seizure happens because it's not
mm,
my defining thing. So
yeah,
I'm just known to them. And then I have a seizure and they're like, oh yeah, Nay does this, and they react to it in the appropriate way and look after me, but
mm,
it's not a big deal. And then later on, that day or the next day, they might just send me a message going, "Hey, you all good?"
mm,
Whereas people who are caring but don't sort of get me to that level will
mm,
be perhaps that evening, I'm going to come round and I'm going to look after you, and oh my God, a thing happened, and it's like, yeah,
mm,
yeah, a thing happened, and it's good,
mm,
and like I said, it's from a nice place. But my people, my close to my heart people, are the people who forget that I'm
mm.
unwell.
That's the end of our
Right.
show. Thank you so much for listening to Laugh Cry or Die, the only podcast that exists with these two people in it.
See you next time.